G'day everyone, and welcome to the GrainCorp Central webinar. I'm Izzy Hutchinson, the Grower Services Manager for the Southern Region, based in Wagga. I will be your host for this webinar this morning, which is being held in place of physical grower meetings for our Midiamo, Tandra, Elmore, Denali and Murchison East sites. 2020 has certainly been a big year for everyone and thrown up plenty of challenges, but one positive has been the return of some decent rainfall across the east coast of Australia. It's an exciting time for the industry and we are pleased to be involved in hopefully bringing home another reasonable crop in Victoria. No doubt some of the topics discussed this morning will lead to further questions. You may have already noticed, but this session is equipped with a chat feature. I strongly encourage that you put forward any questions at any time and we will endeavour to answer them as we go. If we do not answer your question prior to the end of the webinar, then you can expect a call from the appropriate GrainCorp team member to answer your question and provide you with further details. Given it's a busy time of the year, I will aim to wrap this up within the hour, so please understand we may not be able to drill down into every operational question at every site. To kick off the presentation this morning, it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to our local site manager team.
G'day everybody, it's just Kyle Manley here. I'm the site manager of Denali. Really looking forward to harvest this year. We'll be taking wheat, canola, barley. The malt barley will be Planet and Spartacus. This year we won't be taking any noodle wheat. Opening hours will hopefully be 7 till 10 o'clock or just whenever needed. Recruiting is going very well this year. We've got a lot of return staff, a lot of new guys and girls, but we're all looking forward to it and hopefully we have a safe and really good harvest. Yeah, cheers.
Hello, my name's Steve Manley. I'm the site manager at Elmore. This year we'll be receiving wheat, barley and canola. Some of the grades of barleys we'll be receiving in the malt grades will be Planet, Compass and Spartacus this year, three malt grades. Times we'll be starting probing at 7:30 and working through depending on the day and the amount of grain that's coming into the site. Staff is going well. We've got a lot of the return staff coming back, so we'll have some good experience on the site and a few new ones as well, so that's going pretty good. Also at Midiamo, Kevin Scully will be the site supervisor out at Midiamo. They'll be receiving wheat, barley and canola. Over at Murchison East, Jeff Barry, who ran the site last year for the first time, will be the site supervisor. Over there receiving wheat and canola. And Tandra will be open this year. It hasn't been for a couple of years, but this year it will be. Dean Jackman will be the site supervisor at that site, and they'll be receiving wheat and manola. So hopefully it looks like to me like it's going to be a big year. Should be an enjoyable year and hopefully things run well. Thank you.
Hopefully that provides you with some insight into who you will see this coming harvest. I now want to take a moment to speak to Sean Barker, our General Manager for Customer and Commercial. Good morning, Sean, and thanks for your time this morning. Can you give us an update as to what's been happening at GrainCorp in the last 12 months?
Izzy, it's my pleasure to be here, and firstly I'd just like to welcome all the growers to the meeting this morning. So thank you for taking the time out of your day. I'm sure you're going to find it beneficial, as we've already probably seen with the videos there from Kyle and Steve. Look, at GrainCorp it's been a busy 12 months, Izzy, overall. So we've demerged from our malt group back in March, so that took a lot of effort from the business overall. So United Malt Group now trades as a separate ASX entity, and the GrainCorp trades separately to that on the stock exchange. What that means for us is GrainCorp now has basically zero core debt. What that means for our growers, it gives us great focus and the ability to continue making the appropriate investments throughout our supply chain going forward, which we're excited about. With that demerger, we have a new CEO in Robert Spurway. So Robert started pretty much at the time of the pandemic. Through that, so he's had 6 months of very turbulent times to get across the business and do that. He's done a very good job. He's been able to get out and meet some growers. And I know as we move into the harvest, he'll be trying to get out as far as practical and meeting as many growers as he can overall. back in March, we did see a big crop planted. So we knew then that it was going to take a lot to start up our supply chains again after 3 years across, parts of our network of drought overall. So we focused in on 3 areas, and that was our people, our equipment, and then also our export markets overall on that. As we heard there from Kyle, recruitment's been going really well down to a site level. We've had 3,000 casual positions to fill. Pleasingly, we've had about 6,000 people apply for those positions. So we continue to work through that, and we're in a very good spot. On the equipment, we've invested in 21 new stackers. We have lots more tarps coming in across the network overall. So things are really good on that front, and planning is well in place that we'll be able to continue with and keep up with the harvest. Throughout all that planning, COVID's thrown many curveballs at us, but one thing that didn't change was ensuring a safe and efficient site experience for people this harvest. I'll take a moment now to thank our teams throughout that whole period, not just in the planning, but especially in Victoria in keeping our supply chains operating. It really has been a mammoth task, so well done to our team there. This year, though, with COVID, the experience at site will change slightly. Luke, Craig and Chris will run through that in more detail. But those changes are to protect you, keep everybody safe, and we're pretty confident that that will lead to a more efficient site as well. We'll be relying heavily on our IT platforms, Crop Connect and Fastway. So not only is that providing those services that we've had for the last number of years of Croptimizer and 2-day payment terms, but it allows us to move to a more contactless site this harvest. So I just remind everyone, if you have questions, to use the question function overall, and I'd just like to wish all our growers a safe and prosperous harvest ahead.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sean. It's definitely been a busy 12 months at GrainCorp and plenty happening. One question that I've got, Sean, is I've seen the markets rally lately. How do you think this will play out when we get into harvest and we see some headers rolling in Vic? Do you think we'll see some pressure come onto those numbers?
It's a question we obviously get quite a lot, Izzy. The truth answer is I don't know, but I think we can pull that apart a little bit and see what's playing out. If we look at what drives our price overall, I might try and look at it in 3 elements. We'll look at the FX component of where the Aussie dollar is, the local component of what's driving the local supply and demand, and then globally we can take a look there of what's driving that. So obviously this year the Australian dollar has been fluctuating quite a lot between that 70 cents and 75 cents. It was only 2 weeks ago I was reading the forecast from our big banks, and they were saying it was likely it will go above 75 cents. Well, that quickly saw the Aussie dollar go back towards 70 cents overall. So that's playing a big part in that. A 2 cent movement in the Aussie dollar is about a $10 per metric tonne movement in price at the moment. So that's having a big impact, and the weaker Australian dollar is giving good prices at the moment. Obviously, with the US election, that's probably going to create more volatility in those types of markets. So having confidence in that is very difficult in what direction that will move in. On the local supply and demand, with bigger crops in New South Wales and Queensland this year, and definitely Victoria again, it looks like there's going to be very good supply. We will be exporting a lot of grain from the east coast of Australia overall. So all that grain cannot get out, in 1 month. So it looks like there'll be an extended marketing program overall. So at times that's going to see transport and other elements constrained overall. So that will have an impact on price at certain periods. Globally at the moment, markets are very strong, especially for wheat and canola. And we're seeing some barley export demand as well. So that demand is very strong through to June at this point. Globally in the markets, if we look at Russia as a guide to what's happening, the price between June and then July forward does at the moment indicate a $20 drop in global values. But obviously a lot can play out between now and then how that plays out. So, yeah. So overall, is it really good to see strong production? I think we're all happy to see strong prices to go with it. But it's very hard to put a definite number on where we see that market trend as we move into the harvest period.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sean. Now, we've had an audience question come in here, and it's, you've been with GrainCorp for several years now. What is it that really excites you about the business?
Thanks for the question, Renee. It's good to get the question. What excites me about the business? This one's pretty easy, I think, Izzy, when I step through. It's definitely the people. I'll move that outside of just GrainCorp. I just think the industry we're in, the people overall, is what makes it that. Very adaptive, very resilient, very solutions focused in what we do. I don't think we've had a better example of that as an industry than COVID-19. I think as we've come together, whether it's growers, supply chains overall, to continue that. And I just think now, as people value that more as an essential service, it's coming through, and people can see that overall. But yeah, definitely the people is what makes it exciting at GrainCorp and the industry that we're in.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sean, and thanks, Renee, for that question. It's a good one, and it's great to hear that it's the people, not only in the GrainCorp business, but also around the business and across the industry, that excite Sean, because it's a personal favourite of mine as well. So thanks for your time this morning, Sean. Moving along, we're actually going to open the rest of the webinar up into a Q&A session. So I've got 3 of the talented GrainCorp members on board to answer any of your questions that you've got. So feel free to post them on the chat feature, and we'll get across them. The panel this morning includes Craig Cochran, our Supply Chain South Senior Manager, Luke Price, our Area Manager for Central, and Chris O'Rourke, our Grain Marketer for Central and Southern Mallee Clusters. To kick things off this morning, I'm going to throw across to Luke. We've heard there, Luke, from our site managers, which was great, but can you just give us a recap of what sites in the area will store malt and canola this coming harvest?
Thanks, Izzy. The Elmore site will have Compass Malt, Spartacus Malt and Planet Malt with Bar 1 and canola. Midiamo will have Spartacus and canola. Tandra will have Manola. And Denali will have Spartacus, Planet, Bar 1 and canola. Thanks.
Brilliant. Thanks, Luke. It sounds like there's plenty of options there for malt, barley and canola across the area. I've got an audience question coming here from James. There's been a lot of media around staff and labour. How is GrainCorp going with recruiting staff this harvest? I'll throw this one across to Craig.
Good morning, all. Look, Izzy, we're actually in a really good spot. So for our skilled roles, we're at about 90% filled as of right now, with more applicants to allocate. So we're in a really comfortable position as well for filling our bunker roles across the park. And across the East Coast, we only wanted about 3,000 extra staff. We've had over 5,000 applicants, so it's been a fantastic rollout. And it was great to see all those people keen to come and work for GrainCorp and in the grain industry. And it's pleasing to note that we have factored in that we're going to try and run double shifts across Victoria where we can. So we will have the staff numbers required to do that. So, yeah, we're in a really nice spot.
Brilliant. Thanks, Craig. Luke, can you just elaborate on what this looks like locally and how we're going with our local harvest recruitment?
Yep, thanks, Izzy. At the moment, Central Vic, we're nearly 90% recruited, which is fantastic. We've locked in nearly all our samplers and weighbridge. We've got a few limited spots for labourers in there. So if anyone knows of anyone, jump on the GrainCorp website and apply online.
Brilliant. Thanks, Luke. It sounds like we're pretty well organised from a harvest recruitment perspective. Craig, we heard a little bit there from Sean that we've added some stackers and some dogs and some tarps into the fleet. Can you just give us an understanding of how we're going with equipment and how is the business positioned to receive this large crop in Vic this year?
Thanks, Iz. Well, as Sean said before, back in March, there was a massive plant, and we started our planning then earlier than normal. And when you throw in on top of our planning, a normal harvest planning, a COVID pandemic, it really has been an intense planning time for our business. In saying that, we've locked our plans down, multiple contingency plans, particularly here in Victoria, around COVID, and we think that we're ready. But supporting these plans, our business spent in excess of $15 million in the last 6 months, bringing in 21 additional stackers, the 400 tonne an hour drive over hoppers to feed those, and as many tarps as we need to cover this massive crop that's coming in. When you talk about our stacker movement plans, they've actually kicked into gear already. There's Queensland stackers now moving down into southern New South Wales, and they'll start flowing down into Victoria in the next couple of weeks. So, yeah, we're in a really good position, we feel, to execute this big harvest that's coming at us.
Brilliant. That's really pleasing to hear that we've got recruitment and equipment sorted for the Vic harvest. Now, I've had an audience question come in here from Robert. How is the expansion going for Murchison East? I'll get Craig to answer this one for me.
Thank you, Robert. It was great to get up to the grower meeting last year. This was a question that we're probably expecting. As we said back then, capital across the business, we have to make sure that it's allocated to the areas that require it the most. Murchison East is certainly on that list. Unfortunately, that expansion didn't happen this year, but Luke is certainly pushing it very, very hard to try and get it included in the not too distant future. So, yeah. That's what I've got is.
Lovely. Thanks, Craig, and thanks for that question there, Robert. Now, Craig, we heard from Sean that the business has been very busy getting ready to take harvest, but understanding what harvest looks like with COVID. Can you give me a brief understanding of what's been happening around the business and some of the changes that are coming for this harvest to remain safe for COVID?
Definitely, Izzy. Look, I think that the big change for this harvest is how we're going to respond to COVID. And we have revised our delivery process across our East Coast network, and it's been developed to reduce that human contact. It'll allow almost all of our delivery functions to be contact-free while maintaining our commitment to quality service. GrainCorp's advanced contact-free technology platforms, Fastway for grain sampling and receival, and Crop Connect for digital transactions are central to those revised plans, and they are critical. So when you look at the 4 main points, and they're effective immediately, we're really trying to minimise the movement of all of our GrainCorp staff and customers at all times. So this includes, but it's not limited to, no access to our sample stands and weigh bridges. We're particularly aiming to minimise movements of truck drivers on our sites. Social distancing and hygiene measures will be enforced as standard practice at all of our sites, along with all drivers and growers required to scan in via a QR code at the sample stand, and then again when their truck tears off at the weigh bridge. The second part of it, use of the updated delivery advice form. Our delivery advice form has been changed and tweaked a little, and it'll assist with reducing the contact between GrainCorp staff and our growers and truck drivers. This process will also increase the efficiencies at the sample stand. The delivery advice form must be used for every delivered load to our sites and every sample that you guys want to get tested. Samples will need to be provided to GrainCorp in the Ziploc bag, and then we'll test the sample, and then we'll call or text you back with the results. But please note the delivery advice won't be returned after use. Third pillar of what we're trying to do is there's no options to select cash or transfer of grain to contracts at the sample stands or the weigh bridges. All deliveries will be placed into warehousing and then transferred via Crop Connect or the grower hotline at 1-800-GRAINS. We'll still collect NGR, paddock details, treatment status and vendor decks at the sample stand or weigh bridge and maintain active live prices up at our sites. And the fourth pillar of what we're doing is there'll be no transfer of clipboards around the sites with the drivers. Any paperwork required will not be handed back or signed, and the size of text on our paperwork will be increased to assist with being able to read it from a distance, for example, down at the hopper. Please, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your site manager or your grain marketer or call the grower hotline on 1-800-GRAINS.
Brilliant. Thanks, Craig. We might just take a moment to have a look at our COVID flowchart, just so everyone can get a visual understanding of how you'll move around the site and how things have slightly changed there. So if you can just take us through that, please, Craig.
Definitely. So I'm just going to focus on the truck delivery. As per normal, you'll come in, you'll come up to the sample stand, and then you'll register as a visitor with the QR code, and we'll obviously then receive your delivery advice form. The load will be tested, we'll sample it, and then we'll print out a sample docket. And so we'll give that back to you at the, it'll vary by site, but either the base of the sample stand or up on the platform. And that's where if you wanted to have a retest done, then you have that right, and we'll follow that through. If everything's okay with the sample and the load, then you'll just move on to the weighbridge to get your gross weight. Then from there, you'll proceed. The sample docket can be reprinted, but you'll just proceed to the hopper. You'll be tipped, and then you come back and you'll tear off, and you'll get your receival docket. There won't be anything to sign or hand back, and then you'll just scan out and you'll leave site. So it's pretty easy, very seamless, and yeah, we think it's going to work well, and it certainly is up in Queensland and Northern New South Wales.
Brilliant. Thanks, Craig. I've got a question here from Mel. Mel would like to know, as you outlined, growers are required to provide the grower delivery advice form when delivering. Can you please explain this form, and where do we get the form from?
Yeah, great question, Mel. It's actually available in a number of areas. So we do have an editable version online on our website. You can also call our 1800 grains number to get copies, or you can call your local site manager to organise the pop in and collect books, which have been sent out to our sites at the end of this week. They should have them. So if you give them a call, they'll have some. Obviously, it's very intuitive. It's very easy. Just read it and follow through and provide what you need to, NGR details, etc. And if you've got any questions, please reach out. But we really do need to make sure that the information on it's accurate, so that we do handle the grain appropriately and bin it correctly. Thanks, Iz.
Brilliant. Thanks, Craig. I noticed there when we were showing an example of the grower delivery advice that there's a question about in-crop glyphosate treatment for barley. Can you just elaborate on this for me?
Absolutely. So in-crop treatment of glyphosate can affect the germination of the barley. So this treatment needs to be declared for both our internal, international and domestic customers, so we can ensure the quality of the product. Treated barley will be binned and ticketed as feed barley regardless of the test results, assuming they're at least bar 1 quality.
Brilliant. Thanks, Craig. I've got a question here from Adam. What is the QR code and how is it filled out? Thanks. Can you elaborate on that for us, Craig?
Yeah, absolutely. So the QR code is actually something that you'll scan on your phone, Adam. So it is contactless. You just literally wave it over. There'll be a sheet up. You just wave it over it and it'll snap it. When you first do it, you'll just have to fill out a couple of details. It's very quick. And then after that, all you need to do is scan it each time and then snap through it. So it'll be very simple. If you don't have that technology available, or a mobile phone, or your truck drivers don't, then we'll have a manual sign in and out sheet as well. So yeah, it's a pretty easy process. And once you've done it the first time, it really is a couple of seconds each time.
Lovely. Thanks, Craig. And keep these questions coming because they're great. I want to throw across to Luke for a moment and just get an understanding from Luke, how has the retesting process changed? So if a grower wants to request a retest, what do they need to do with this new COVID plan, please, Luke?
Yeah, so the retest won't change from previous years. So we can either test your bucket sample, retest it that's in the sample stand that we probe from the truck, or you can drive around again and pull up at the sample stand and we'll reprobe your truck again. So same as the last year and the years before.
Lovely. Thanks, Luke. What about samples? What do growers do and where do growers go when they come onto site to get a sample tested?
Yeah, so at the sample stand, we'll either have a table set up or a bucket set up for the samplers to collect your sample. We'd ask if your sample was in a kilo in a Ziploc plastic bag with your delivery device with a contact number, and we'll be able to text your results or phone call you the results back as soon as we complete your sample.
Lovely. Thanks for that, Luke. I've got an audience question here from Annie. If you're going contactless, how does a grower sell their grain on the weighbridge? I'll get Chris to answer this one for us.
Thanks, Izzy. So as part of our COVID plan that Craig mentioned before, all grain will be placed into warehouse this year. From there, our Crop Connect platform can be utilised to complete all transactions. So this will be done through either the GrainCorp app, cropconnect.com.au, or a phone call to our 1-800 Grains team. Through the Crop Connect platform, you'll be able to see the load details. You can see updates of where the truck is on site. It can be used as a stock management tool to cash loads as well as contract management. It also offers a number of accounting features such as RCTIs and your delivery summaries. As I mentioned, so the load quality details can be set up as push notifications that will come directly to your phone as well. So that'll be really beneficial for any growers really wanting to make cash sales promptly. They'll get a notification to say when that truck's left the weighbridge. So it's really just a one-stop shop. I really suggest that everyone gets onto it before harvest, downloads the app, gets familiar with the platform. There are a number of YouTube videos also online that'll step you through everything that Crop Connect offers, as well as our team will be able to sort of assist you to look at everything it does.
Brilliant. Thanks, Chris, and thanks, Annie, for that question. You mentioned there, Chris, that growers have to put their grain into a warehouse and then utilise Crop Connect to make their sales. What costs and other benefits are involved in warehousing?
So Crop Connect and the GrainCorp app are completely free for growers to use. From a warehousing perspective, last season we increased the grace period, and that'll be ongoing into this year as well. So that's the month of delivery plus the following 2 months before any charges start. Another benefit of warehousing is that you'll be able to use Croptimizer, which is our quality upgrade program applicable to wheat and barley. So there's no changes on how Croptimizer works this year and how you access that program, which is with growers needing to call 1-800 Grains to have any tickets regraded. You'll also still need to meet the 3 criteria for a load to be eligible, which is you need to meet the certain parameters around protein and screenings. You need to have grower equity, meaning that you've delivered the higher loads previously and it's sitting in warehouse. And our stack averages on site are in a position to allow those upgrades. We will also be sending text messages out twice a week to any growers that have loads that are eligible to be upgraded. But if you think you have a load that is eligible, we would encourage everyone to make a call to our 1-800 Grains team to check and run through and not necessarily wait until the end of harvest or the end of your harvest to get those done.
Lovely. Thanks, Chris. I've had another audience question come in. This one's coming in from Shane. Can you please explain the weight limit codes as there is no GHMS on the delivery advice form? I'll get Craig to answer this one for us.
Is it no GHMS? That's a great question. Limit codes as there is no GHMS. I've actually got somebody knocking at the door. So that might be a question that I'll come back to you on. I'm going to have to sort that one out.
It's
Okay,
just missing the G. It's just on the delivery advice. It's just missing the G off the HMS. So it's a harvest management scheme. So on the form, I'd circle the HMS.
Brilliant. Hopefully that answers your question there. If not, just let us know and we'll come back to you post the webinar if you like. But thanks for that, Luke. I've got another one here from Brett. How is the grower sent sample results at the sample stand? SMS, what if no phone? Can you answer that one for us, please, Luke?
Yep. So we can send out a text message from the computer in the sample stand. So we can quite easily do that.
Brilliant. Lovely. And then I've got another one here from Chris. What about contracted grain? Does that change? I'll get Chris to answer this one for us, Chris.
Contracted grain, I guess, doesn't change. If you have contracted grain into our site, it will still roll through. Sorry, I've just actually properly understood that question. So contracted grain will be transferred through Crop Connect or over through our 1-800 Grains team as well. So all grain will still go into warehouse, and then from there you can either transfer onto the contract through Crop Connect through the GrainCorp app, or make a call to our 1-800 team, and they'll be able to transfer for you as well.
Brilliant. Keep these questions coming because they're great. Chris, what payment options is GrainCorp offering for this coming harvest?
So our standard payment terms that a lot of people would be aware of are 2 business days from transfer. We also offer deferred options, which are available on contract, which will put that payment out until the next financial year. So an example of that one would be for any growers looking to make sales during harvest or out until the end of Jan and look at deferring. Currently, that would see another $6 per tonne in interest for canola, $4 for wheat and $3 for barley. Another option growers may be interested in is our GrainCorp Harvest 10 pool, as it also offers 3 different payment types. So there's the harvest payment, which is 70% of the estimate up front. We have our deferred payment, which is 75% in July and the following paid in October, as well as our distributed payment, which is 25% each quarter. So that's a great option if you're wanting to participate in the market throughout the year, whilst also reducing exposure to market volatility.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Chris. Now, Craig, it sounds like we've got things organised in our upcountry sites to receive the grain at harvest time. How's the business going getting ready for the export program that's coming up?
Actually, Izzy, I was in at the port today at Geelong for the 6 o'clock Stop for Safety toolbox. And they're actually outloading an export vessel right now, so they're probably match fit when you compare them to our northern ports. Look, similarly though to upcountry, we need to increase the numbers that we've got there, and they're busily training some new staff up to meet the 24/7 deadlines that we're going to need to for the busy export program coming. And they're just finalising the cleaning at both Portland and Geelong of their silos in readiness for the crop that's coming. So, yeah, they're actually ready, willing and able and looking forward to a busy season. We're very lucky in that the market has supported our shipping stem, so very, very busy out of both ports, which bodes well for all Victorian grain supply chain participants, which is great.
Brilliant. Thanks, Craig. It sounds like things are going pretty well down at the ports. With the big export program that's coming post-harvest, Chris, what options have the growers got for direct delivery down to the port?
Thanks, Izzy. So we currently have contracting pricing available for direct delivery post-harvest into both Geelong and Portland. And that also includes GrainCorp's 2 business day payments, which as well as including our deferred options into there. So into Geelong, we are pricing wheat, barley and canola, and wheat is being priced into Portland. So from a pricing perspective, currently you'd be looking at an APW wheat in the 320s. You're looking at barley in the high 230s and canola sitting around 610 for delivery. If you're interested to find out more about that or get in contact with myself or have a chat to our team at 1-800-GRAINS and we'll get you up to speed.
Lovely. Thanks, Chris. Now, Craig, I'm interested to get an understanding of how the Geelong port will go managing a big export program, but also ensuring a quick turnaround time for growers in that busy December through to January harvest period.
No worries, look, it is something that we're used to every year. So what happens is the upcountry delivers that come in by road are actually time slotted and they're limited. So ordinarily we'd run at 12 trucks an hour. That's actually cut in half, and sometimes it gets down to even 2 or 3 trucks of specific grades. So the priority always goes to the growers delivering harvest, and that will continue. The truck turnaround times on site are always under an hour. So, yeah, it's something that they are very well seasoned at delivery. So no problems at all.
Lovely. Thanks, Craig. Now, I've had a question come in here from Darcy. I'm interested to understand more about the changes to canola sustainability. Chris, can you give us an understanding of these changes, please?
I can. So this year, 7 of the major exporters have come together with NGR to make canola sustainability a much easier process for all parties involved. So the general guidelines of the program are very similar to previous years, but instead of each grower filling out a form for every buyer, you now just complete one form with NGR, and that'll cover off all sales made to those 7 exporters. So sustainable canola draws a premium into the EU market, so it's really important that we continue to see growers register for this program, as that EU market is really the key one for Aussie canola. So if you're growing canola this year, I suggest you really get in contact with NGR for any further information, as well as to complete the declaration. I will mention that for a small percent of growers, you could be selected randomly for a farm audit post-harvest, and that's through Sustainable Grains Australia. If you'd like any more information around that, that can be found on the Australian Oilseeds Federation or AOF website. Or again, feel free to get in contact with us and we'll be able to forward on any fact sheets that they have.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Chris. Now, if you've got any more questions, please send them through and we'll get across them prior to the end of the webinar. Now, I've heard a number of times about 1-800 Grains. I'm interested, Chris, to understand what this is, who it is, and also some of the services that number will provide to growers this year.
Sure. So 1-800 Grains is a taken a previous 1-800 call line, and it's just to make things a little bit easier for growers to remember when they're in the paddock. The previous 1-800 number still gets through to the same spot, but 1-800 Grains is just going to roll off the tongue a little bit better. So it's staffed up in Wagga in anticipation of a busy harvest this year across southern New South Wales and in Victoria. That team's trained up to and ready to mirror anything that can be done in Crop Connect and work alongside our merchant team, just answering any questions that you have. They'll be able to help you sign up for our weekly grower emails that are sent out, for our contract pricing emails and text messages. They can help sign up for any operational text messages around opening hours and any of the communications that we have going out. In general, they're just there to make harvest as stress-free as possible for you and can help direct any calls onto other departments if required.
Lovely. Thanks for that, Chris. It sounds like they can cater for most of the grower questions when they come through, or they'll find someone who can. Now, Craig, we've covered off a lot of different topics in a very short space of time this morning. Can you just give us the recap of what you've learnt from this webinar?
No worries at all, Iz. Look, the key messages that I took from the session are the major change this harvest is around our COVID plan, in that all of our sites will be trying to be as contactless as possible. The delivery advice forms are required for both samples and grower deliveries, and all grain delivered will automatically be placed in warehouse. Then you can utilise Crop Connect to complete transfers to contract, cash, pools, as well as other offers, and view invoices and manage your notifications. I would also suggest that you check your personal details with NGR prior to harvest, and as Christo said, complete the canola sustainability declaration if you wish. And that's my main takeaways. Is
lovely. Thanks, Craig. Now, before I wrap up this webinar, I'm just going to go back around the grounds and just get the final thoughts from the team. I'll kick off with Luke.
Yep. So just remind staff, just remind growers when they come in and truck drivers that they wear the appropriate PPE, their high vis, the appropriate footwear, glasses, and if we're still wearing the masks because of COVID. So, just please abide by those rules. And hopefully it's a nice, safe, dry harvest.
Lovely. Thanks, Luke. Now, I've got a question that's come in from Jane. What grades of wheat will Tandra be receiving? Can you give us an update on that one, Luke?
Yep. We'll be taking APW, ASW, AGP for a start. And, we sort of can make some decisions on the fly if we need to open up another seg or something. But they will be the three main ones.
Okay, lovely. Thanks, Luke, and thanks, Jane, for that question. I'll now head across to Chris.
Thanks, Izzy. So, look, I guess as we move through what will be a very large East Coast harvest, I just encourage everyone to sign up and get yourself up to speed on Crop Connect to hopefully be able to take advantage of any market volatility that could come our way. Get prepared with delivery advices and make sure you're just on any of our communications lists so you don't miss anything that's coming out from GrainCorp.
Lovely. Thanks, Chris. And last but not least, we'll head up to Craig.
Look, Izzy, really excited about the harvest that's coming and that it's across the board. I think that we're better planned. We've got more gear than we've ever had before. So, look, I'm really excited about getting this harvest underway, and I know that the staff on the ground are really keen to get into it. There's been a lot of planning, and it's time for the rubber to hit the road. So hopefully I'll get out and see everyone, and, I wish everyone just a safe and prosperous harvest.
Lovely. Thanks for that, guys. Now that concludes our webinar for this morning. Hopefully this session has provided you with some insight into what GrainCorp's doing this harvest to ensure your safety, the safety of your community and the safety of our staff members. I thank you all for your time and your questions this morning, and I wish you all the very best for harvest.